Hey, it's Hunt. You found Hunt on Saints. We're talking black and gold football. Do us a favor. Hit the like button, share your comments below, and hit that subscription button so you can get all of our content. Enjoy. The Saints yesterday obviously made it official. They're moving on from Dennis Allen. And what we thought yesterday was that was going to signal a significant rebuild for the first time in a couple decades in New Orleans. And we weren't sure of that because that would be out of the ordinary for the Saints. But we felt like it was the first real inclination that might be coming. And I told you yesterday that loss on Sunday may have been the exact shock to the system the New Orleans Saints needed. And they parted ways with Dennis Allen, and now they've dealt probably their most valuable asset. Marshon Lattimore traded from the New Orleans Saints to the Washington Commanders earlier today in advance of the trade deadline, which is 2 hours away right now. Washington receives Marshon Lattimore and a fifth-round selection from New Orleans in the 2025 draft. The Saints get a third-rounder, a fourth-rounder, and then the sixth-rounder that the Saints actually sent to Washington for John Ridgeway in August. So you look at this, and the Saints pick up a couple draft picks. They swap there in the fourth and fifth round, and they give up Marshon Lattimore, who has a year and a half left of control on his contract. First thing here is this is the right thing to do. Marshon Lattimore is not going to be on the next great Saints team. He is beyond the age of 30. He is reasonably expensive. He's still a good player, though oft injured. But the Saints are nowhere near competing. They're nowhere near contending. They have massive issues on the offensive line, massive issues at wide receiver, an aging running back. Up front, they're not stopping anybody on the ground. Demario Davis is getting older. Your secondary now, with the loss of Paulson Adebo, who may have played his last game as a New Orleans Saint and certainly won't play again this year, and now you trade Marshon Lattimore and you've got an aging Tyrann Mathieu. Every single level on both sides of this team needs significant work. And you are not one or two moves away from making it happen, and you're now in a position with the salary cap where you can't really make one or two moves. You've got to tear the entire thing down. And that's what this is starting with Marshon Lattimore. You recruit a couple draft picks here, and you move on from him. It's not perfect. Trust me, it's not perfect. It's not going to get better immediately. You look at the dead money that the Saints are looking at for 2025, and it's significant. Marshon Lattimore, Jameis Winston, Michael Thomas, Ryan Ramczyk. You're talking about $60 million in dead money. And you're not really saving anything for next year against the cap. You're offsetting this year's cap with Marshon Lattimore's contract coming off the books, but you're still on the hook for next year. And you look at it, and there are going to be a lot of guys collecting money from you against the cap that don't help you on the field. And this is, again, the right thing to do, but it doesn't make it any easier if you're a Saints fan. And I tell you all this all the time, and I just do it to level with you because I'm not trying to blow smoke or feign some sort of emotional attachment that's not there. I want the Saints to win. I don't live and bleed it. If the Saints are playing a division game on a Sunday and I get an offer to go play golf, I'm probably going to go play golf. That's where I am with the Saints. My emotional investment is on Saturdays. Y'all know that. I'm not telling you anything you don't know. So I don't mean to pull an example from my life because you care about that, but it's all I have to go off of. I've had to watch the Cubs do this twice. And a lot of y'all that are listening, if you are 27, 28 and younger, have never watched the Saints do this. And let me tell you, it's not fun. It is not fun. The Saints are going to be awful the rest of this year. And I think the Saints are going to be awful next year. But in the course of that, you get some contracts off the books. You got to go to work with your scouting department the second this season is over with and make sure that you're locked in on the draft. You've got to get the right head coach in place. And you've got to get a quarterback too. And as I look at these draft picks that have come back in the Marshon Lattimore deal, it wouldn't bother me at all if the Saints used a third-round pick, used a fourth-round pick, and used a sixth-round pick. Would not bother me at all. Try to fill holes on your defensive front. Try to grab a wide receiver. Make sure you got another cornerback to pair with Alontae Taylor and Kool-Aid McKinstry. You could do all that in the 3rd round, 4th round, and 6th round. But also, you're stockpiling some picks here. And if you decide that you're the 8th pick in the draft, but you want to move up to the 3rd pick in the draft, or you're the 5th pick in the draft and you want to move up to the 2nd pick in the draft because you think the right quarterback is there this coming draft, go get him. The Saints have never been in a position to stockpile these draft picks and be aggressive at the top of the draft. Because, one, they've never had very many draft picks because they always trade them to move up to go get Mark Ingram, trade up to go get Marcus Davenport. But they've also very rarely, if ever, picked in the top 10, picked in the top 8, picked in the top 6. That may be the case here. So this is the right thing to do. You don't have very many tradable assets. Lattimore's one, and Chase Young is the other. And I would sincerely hope in the next hour and 51 minutes and 48 seconds that they get a deal done for Chase Young to bring something back. The Bengals might be interested. Philly might be interested. The Vikings might be interested. Whoever. If somebody's willing to step up and give you a 3rd or 4th round pick to rent Chase Young for a few months, you take it. You are no longer in move forward mode. The Saints have been in move forward mode for 20 years. The Saints are in back it up mode. Throw it in reverse. Hear the beeping sounds like Home Depot. Back it up. And that's the right thing to do. It just sucks. I watched the Cubs in 2012, 13, 14 just be awful. And then they stockpiled draft picks and they had free agent money and they went and got John Lester and they hit at an incredible rate with Chris Bryant and they hit with Kyle Schwarber and they got some fortune with Jake Arrieta. And none of this means anything to you, but it propelled the Cubs to the greatest run in the history of their franchise. And then I watched them tear the whole thing down in 2021 and they haven't rebuilt it yet. There's no guarantee. You don't know. But the way the Saints have done business for the last 20 years simply doesn't work anymore with the state of this franchise. You're too old, you're too expensive, you have no flexibility, and you got to change things. And this is the start of that. At least now we know they're in that mode. Because I thought they were in that mode in this offseason. They didn't do anything crazy, didn't spend insane amounts of money, didn't strap themselves with bad contracts, just kind of played it safe. I was a little disheartened by the Kamara deal. We've rehashed that and we've talked about it. I didn't think it was a proper thing to do at the time, and I still don't, but it's done. But this is a clear change in direction. The Saints have never sat here at the trade deadline and offloaded their best defensive player. They just did that. So you now know where Mickey Loomis, where Dennis Lauscha, where Gail Benson, where they're all moving. You got to get a new head coach in here, and you got to change the direction of this franchise. The next 3 months, not going to be a lot of fun. Come draft time, that'll be pretty fun. And then my guess is that next football season is not going to be great either. But you can't fix it immediately. You've got to be willing to undergo the process. And if you're a Saints fan and you don't have confidence that Mickey Loomis can do this, I don't have a lot of ammo to hold you off on that. Their drafting has not been very good the last 4 years. We all know about that famous draft class that included Ramczyk and Kamara and all those guys. We got it. They haven't consistently done that. That's going to have to start in a hurry with either hitting on the multitude of draft picks that you've got or packaging them to move up and get your new quarterback. Unfortunately, we're sitting here in early November, and there's a lot of football left for the 2024-2025 Saints to play. Just don't know how entertaining that's going to be. But I can promise you, Saints fans, as somebody who's watched his team in a different sport do this a couple times, sometimes you got to hit the reset button. And it's time to do that for the New Orleans Saints, and they are. Hey, it's on. Thanks for watching Hunt on Saints. Before you leave, Help us out a little bit. Hit that like button, leave your comments in the section below, and hit that subscribe button so you get all our content right here from Hunt on Saints. We'll see you next time.